Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, professional Western and Vedic astrologer, a psychic, a healer, and a yogi. In this episode, my guest, Isabel Chiara, an author and a healer, will talk about her new book, Nourish, Beyond Food, Feeding the Path of Personal Power and Joy. You're going to want to listen to what she has to share. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Isabel Chiara. Isabel Chiara is dedicated to the exploration of life nourishment, how we feed our sense of self-connection and ignite our most empowered life, full of prosperity, miracles, and magic. Isabel is dedicated to helping others define what nourishment means for themselves from the inside out. She is the author of 3 books on exploring and transforming behavior, shifting the food paradigm, and activating our individual potential. Isabel is also the creator of the Nourish app and has spent decades supporting others through personal one-on-one energy activation sessions. Isabel cultivated her work as an entrepreneur through her years working in the restaurant and real estate industry, in combination with decades studying spiritual mastery work and healing techniques. Outside of writing and coaching, Isabel is a devoted, award-winning dancer and gourmand hailing from a family of restaurateurs. She loves mystical anthropology, farmers markets, gardening, and anything artisan-made. Check her out at her website, www.isabel-chiara, CHIARA.com. Nourish is Isabel Chiara's 3rd book, and her most expansive exploration yet of how we relate to food, and more importantly, to ourselves. Moving beyond diet culture and rigid frameworks, Isabel invites readers to examine the art of eating alongside the deeper practice of listening to and nourishing the body, mind, soul, and spirit. More than a book, Nourish is an interactive experience, offering reflective processes readers can engage with at their own pace. Through deeply personal, compassionate, and grounding storytelling, Isabel creates a space that feels safe, generous, and alive, one that helps readers reconnect with their inner resources and rediscover their own power. At its core, Nourish is an invitation to define nourishment on your own terms, to recommit to yourself, and to tap into a renewable source of energy, joy, and self-love that has been there all along. I'm so excited and honored to have my guest and friend, Isabel Chiara, on Cosmic Scene today. Hello, Isabel. So happy to have you back on Cosmic Scene for the 3rd time.
Am I overstaying my welcome yet?
No, you haven't. There's a reason we keep inviting you back. You have so much to share with our listeners, and we're very excited to hear about your new book, Nourish. And you have an announcement about a free gift to our listeners. We're going to hit it from the get-go.
Yeah, my goal is for everyone to feel nourished in their life and know how to nourish themselves and really fulfill themselves from the inside out. So I'm offering a free ebook to all of your listeners.
Yay. How do they get it?
I'm going to send you the link for it.
Okay, so they'll see the link in the show notes, but you were talking off air about your Nourish app. I also want to hear about that. That's a way that they can access it, correct?
Right. So I also have a Nourish app. My Nourish app, which is to support people to activate their own ability to transform their own behaviors. And it's a really in-depth kind of activation that I guide people through. It's really amazing. And there's 12 themed nourishing activations. And so that your guests can receive a 2-week free use. They can use of this app, and they're going to be. It's really, really deep and really involved.
So give us an idea, like what? So they go on the app, and let's say they're like, "Oh, I'm a compulsive eater. I can't control it." Is there an activation for that?
Right. Well, it's okay. So when we talk about Nourish, we talk about more than food, because many of the reasons where people do not feel nourished or do not are struggling with food or are in a food frenzy a lot of times because they're not getting nourished inside. They're
Yes.
not being fulfilled. There's something still missing. And so a lot of times there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes on that if we take a look at it, and I have a whole bunch of these activations, they can really look to see where their patterns are playing out in their life. And it gives them what eventually gives them a point of consciousness where they can look at where something started and move past that particular pattern from figuring out where it started. And that's where I kind of bring people through. And so I have these 12 activations. And one of the ones that I have, the central themes that I really use is healing connections. And it's connections between your family and yourself, and really healing connections between your and with yourself. And another thing that what really gets us to, crave food a lot of times is transforming triggers. That's another theme and another activation that I have. And one of the most important ones that I think I have used that I think is great is eating for two,
Tell
which
me about
kind of
that. Tell me a little bit
which
about
is
that.
right. It's kind of like, you're eating, but you're really have taken in the energy of something that happened prior in that day, or something's triggering you. And you start to eat, and a lot of times we're unconscious and we start to just eat, but we're eating while we have the other person's in our head. And we're
Wow.
going through a cycle of the conversation. And so this really brings us to the point where we really can, if we work with this particular activation, we can actually feel where we begin and another person is ending. So we can create a boundary where within ourselves and the other person, and we start to look at how we use that pattern, how it plays out in our life a lot.
That's
And
amazing.
there's
So,
another,
really good for all the empaths out there who take it all on, right?
oh yeah, and there's another one that is particularly brilliant, which is called setting the table. And it's kind of the table that we had growing up, and what position we were in at the table, how we interacted with everybody in the table, what was going on there, what was happening between us and everybody. And by looking at that, it actually outlines the table. You can actually see yourself sitting at the table, and you actually can feel it transforming, because I take you through the process where people start to interact differently.
This is amazing. So, this is all available on your Nourish app. So, go to your app store and download it. And you said they get a couple weeks free, and they can also get the free ebook of Nourish if they go on the app. This is a really valuable asset for people. The other thing is that you said earlier about so many people have triggers around eating. They have a stressful day. They are still sort of not processing. What do? They just they go home, they eat whatever they can, they drink whatever they can. I mean, I think a lot of what you're having in your Nourish app and your book would go for people with any kind of addiction, correct? Like, let's say people who drink or they eat too much, or let's say they want to go and they
Right.
exercise too much. So I think it can go across the whole spectrum of addiction. Is that true?
Nourishment, as I try to present it as a framework, as a mindset framework. And I talk about nourish as a path. And I talk about different points of nourishment because it did start with food, of course. And the truth is, we're not being filled in our system, right? Our body's not being filled. So it allows us to take a step back and wake up with different intentions, and allow the things that we are already doing to play out, and start to own whatever we're doing, because a lot of times we judge what we're doing instead of saying it's the word alone that captures us. And when I say that word nourishment, it's we're saying to ourselves, okay, you know what? This is nourishing to me. Instead of saying, okay, I'm just doing this. I have to do it. I must do it. We're saying, okay, I'm doing this because I matter, and my path in life matters, and I'm here to nourish myself now. And what happens is we start to build ourselves. And I like to call it like we keep, raising our vibration every day, because we are saying that we're nourishing ourselves. And it's like we're like every day, it's like we're living in a cuddly blanket, and we get to start to speak these words of nourishment to ourselves.
I love
So
that
it's not a,
metaphor. Yeah, I love that metaphor of
yeah,
a cuddly blanket. So it's food is like everybody will immediately associate nourish with like nourishing foods or how you feed yourself. But when you look at that, you can also feed yourself with uplifting movies or uplifting podcasts. Nourishing to me is like getting really juicy body work, going and getting a really nice
right,
deep massage,
right.
any kind of energy treatment. So, what are other ways that people might nourish
Well,
themselves?
mainly it's not things outside of ourselves, but it's things that we're doing with ourselves. So one of the main things is, how are we listening? Like, how are we listening to our bodies and our gut and our breath?
Huge. That's
What
huge. Yeah,
huge, huge. And how are we listening to ourselves without judgment? And are we listening to ourselves with imagination? I can't tell you how just being on this path and starting to look at things like this has led me to a state of more joy in my life. Like when I wake up in the morning, I now feel joy because I've set these parameters for myself and have allowed myself to start looking at things differently. So, one is, how are we listening to ourselves, right? And another thing is the tone of how we speak to ourselves. So we set our environment, and are we like yelling at ourselves? Are we like punishing ourselves? Are we saying you have to do this, or we have to? It's kind of like being more compassionate with ourselves,
I love
and
that.
we're acknowledging the words that we say to ourselves all the time.
You're probably okay. So you're acknowledging, but going from, let's say, punitive or harsh self talk to more like, as you said, loving and compassionate, and almost like what I call pep talk, self talk. Like, you're doing really well.
Yes,
You did really well today.
right.
I think everybody needs to come from that, you know, uh,
Yes, and
mindfulness and loving self talk. That's huge. And what have you seen in your own process with shifting that inner dialogue to more compassion and love for self?
so the more that you begin to do in the beginning, when you start to talk compassionately to yourself, it might feel a little fraudulent
Yes,
because we're not used to talking like that to
I'm good
ourselves.
enough. I'm strong enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. Remember Stuart Smalley making fun of all that on Saturday Night Live
Right,
back in the day? Yeah.
right. And so the more you say it to yourself, the more you start to answer. I say first, you're almost answering yourself, right? Like, so let's just say you have not a nice comment for yourself, and then you criticize yourself, and then you catch yourself, and you're like, wow. You could even say, well, that wasn't really nice. That
Yeah.
wasn't really nice. I mean, all of this sounds really basic and it sounds really silly, but I can't tell you the transformation that happens when we start to speak kindly to ourselves and speak in a lower tone and speak. I mean, in order for me in my life, in order to get more done, I thought I had to come from a point where, okay, you better do this or you should do this all the time. And now I'm actually I can get more done. And, or even say to myself, "Well, I don't need to get all this done. Let's just like sometimes things start to unfold now, which is
Right.
even better than it you us working on something to try to chef something
Right. You don't have to crack
from.
the whip, right? You
Mm,
can be more okay, let's see how the day goes. But it also sounds like you and I have discussed like inner child rescue and things like that off mic, but it also sounds like you're now dialoguing with that inner child. And how would a child receive this conversation? I don't want to be
right.
harsh and punitive, so I'm going to lovingly extend these possibilities to my younger self. And it, we know from this work, as you and I have worked this
Right.
energy extensively
Yeah.
for ourselves and others, that you can rescript your reality by going in and speaking to that inner child or shifting self-talk in such a way that you described.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's so the thing about the path, the nourishment path,
Yep.
is you're always in the right spot.
I love it.
You're never like, oh, well, it's going to take me another week, or it's going to take me, I didn't do this yet, or it's going to take me like 5 months. It's not going to take you anything. It's you're on the path already.
Say that
You're
again.
always,
I think people need to hear that affirmation. You're always on the right path.
you're always on the right path, because once you own your path of nourishment, and that's the path that you are on, and you start to say, okay, this is nourishing, even if it doesn't look nourishing. And I just want to go into cravings for a minute, because that's a really big thing.
Yes.
Even if something doesn't look nourishing, like, how do we know? I always think that it didn't look like we wanted it to look, some kind of situation in our life, but we don't really know the whole story. And it could have been the best thing that happened to us. I mean, it feels like this year, that's really what's happening. Things are happening outside of the box of what we're looking at things. And
Exactly.
then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, well, this is a good thing I didn't do that. Good thing I didn't do that thing I was going to do, because now I have the opportunity to do this greater thing for myself.
I
Right?
agree. I agree. This fire horse year, I think leading up to this year was basically clearing the path and dealing with our subconscious debris and shadow and doing the shadow
Right.
work. And if people have done that and your techniques are fantastic for this, it's never too late to start healing
Right.
your shadow and your subconscious and your younger self, that there
Right.
is no time in this type of work. That's why it's like the moment is always now. And I love this is part of your message
Right.
too. It's
Well,
like,
that's one of the things. It's one of the things I say, because and when the inner critic shows up inside of us, right? One of the things I like to say is, I want to talk with the inner critic now. Before I was like, shh, go away, go away, go away. But now, to have a conversation with that part of us and see what's really going on.
right.
I mean, that inner critic part, and this is like really huge. The inner
Totally.
critic
It's like
was
who's
our friend, was our best friend. It protected us.
exactly. And sometimes it was, okay, maybe it's a voice of a parent, whatever, but it's also that part of ourselves, what we would say in Kundalini yoga. Sometimes it's the negative mind, but the negative mind doesn't want you to go and invest in swampland in Florida or overextend yourself. So it is sort of a wait, cautionary, cautionary. And sometimes that's what we need to hear. But you also have to see, well, where's it coming from? Fear, insecurity. Well, let's heal that part that actually made it come from a voice of fear. Yeah, it has a lot to teach
Mhm.
us. I agree. I'm glad
Right.
that you're
But
working
really,
with that.
what was the fear saving you from? Was the fear saving you from humiliating yourself in a situation? Was it saving you from some other feeling that was going to be worse than what you
Exactly.
had anticipated, right?
Right.
And but it's kind of your friend. It's kind of been taking care of you. It's like a little inner guiding babysitter.
Right, protecting the younger self. It's
Yeah.
amazing, and actually helping you keep your energy intact. Because I think a lot of healers like you and we tend to overgive, or we used to maybe self-sacrifice on behalf of others, and that inner critic is like, save your energy for later, save your energy for yourself. You're no good if you're depleted. So I think
Right.
your Nourish information taps right into that.
Right.
My guest is Isabel Chiara. When we come back, Isabel will talk about choosing food instead of using food, and how
Right.
is active visualization an important part of transforming our relationship with food. So stay tuned. Hi there, this is Jill Jardine, host of Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, and I have some news for you. Some of you know that I have a book that's published called Sacred Sound Formulas to Awaken the Modern Mind, Sanskrit Mantras to Raise Your Vibration. Well, now I have the companion oracle cards for Sacred Sound Formulas to Raise Your Vibration. You're going to have a lot of fun with these. You pull a card, you get the mantra that will help you at whatever moment you pick the card, and so much more. So make sure you go online and order yours now, JillJardine.com. Welcome back. My guest is Isabel Chiara, and we're going to talk now about choosing food instead of using food and cravings. Isabel, what do
Yes,
you have to say
yes.
about that hot topic?
Okay, well, I'm going to say something and people are going to be like, what? That's the one that takes me down all the time. Okay. Cravings are what make you go out of your mind and go find that piece of chocolate or go find whatever it is, fried foods, French fries, whatever it is. I'm here to say that cravings are not saboteurs. They are signalers. I
Oh,
like to say they're signalers. They let us know that we need to look inside and see what's going on. Right? We're craving something. We want to fill ourselves with something, right? Because we don't or we don't want to feel something. We don't want to feel like we're a failure, or we don't want to feel that we're overpowered by somebody, or we don't want to feel like we're out of control or we're overwhelmed. We don't want to feel that. So we crave something, and a lot of times, and I've investigated a lot of cravings, like if we crave something, a pastry or cookie or something like that, it kind of brings us back to something that happened when we were a child, and we were probably in our home with our parents, and they gave us that to make us feel better. And they actually, as a child, they actually say, here, I'm going to give you these cookies, I'm making these cookies, and that's how they're giving you love. So that's the thing that our body returns to, that feeling. So it's not like these cravings are coming out of the blue. So our body really wants to feel loved and wants to feel nourished,
that's
right? So
wild.
can you imagine when we want something, like it's almost when I realized the things I wanted, I didn't need to have them anymore. So, for example, I just want to say my biggest Achilles heel was having chocolate and having a chocolate bar. I was having so many a day. It was really crazy. So, once I realized what was underneath that, I heard a voice in my head really saying, okay, you know what? I think we're done with chocolate here. Like that's kind of what happens now with different foods that I have experienced craving. I hope other people can experience the same thing if they start to look at what it is they really want. Like, do they want to be loved? Do they want to be like accepted? Do they want to be acknowledged? What is it that they're looking for?
That's
And
wild.
just,
That's a wild. I mean,
yeah.
chocolate, I think, is a big one because it also has a dopamine or serotonin response. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's funny because I noticed recently that I've been wanting Cadbury milk chocolate. I'm like, what the heck?
Mhm.
Well, I know where
Mhm.
that comes from. My mom was a Brit. She grew up with Cadbury, and she grew up during
Right.
World War II, and they rationed it. And so when we were
Uh-huh.
growing up, she would give us little, squares of Cadbury at the end of the day when we were like just chilling and watching TV.
Right,
And
but
so,
she rationed it.
yeah, she rationed it still from
So
her
she's
background.
rationed it with you. So now
Yeah.
you really want it.
And now, yeah, exactly. And so now it's like I get the same kind and I'll have it, but then it's so funny what you said. I got like, yeah, I'm done with this. I think what happens is with cravings, like sometimes you actually have to like follow and do it. And then you realize like, yeah, so I'm all done with that now. I'm not getting another, Cadbury milk chocolate square bar anymore because I don't really need it. I mean, sometimes too, it helps stuff like chocolate. I think it raises the dopamine. I notice sometimes, like, if I'm like, I just walked for 3 miles, I got to get through the day, I'm going to have a square of chocolate. I use it as almost like an energetic boost. But again, do you really
Right,
need it for that? You're right. You have to track like
right,
what's behind this? What's behind this?
right. Yeah. I also believe that we get to give into our cravings. We're on this path, right?
Hmm.
And we're looking at it and we're acknowledging it. While we're doing that and going through the process, we get to have it. we don't have to say no to ourselves. We get to go in and we get to talk in a nice spirited voice to ourselves and say, okay, listen, I understand, like you have a craving. Okay, let's see what this is about. And you get to have it.
And I think
And then
that
you
unwinds
might
it.
have it. You might
Yeah.
have it. And you might say, oh, I think I'm done.
Exactly. I think that when you say, all right, I'm going to have this, this is what I'm feeling in the now, and I'm tracking why, I know why, but I'm going to have it anyway. And I think that that completes whatever the response is or whatever. It's almost like,
Mhm.
okay, now I fulfilled the craving and it's complete, that it actually almost like short circuits it in some level, right?
Yeah. Well, there's another little step in there. Can
Okay.
I tell you?
Yes.
Okay. So if the craving is because you had some kind of interaction with, like, for in your case, it was the rationing.
Right.
Okay. That was your mom's thing.
No kidding.
It wasn't your thing, and it got transferred down to you through the chocolate.
Right.
So you get to literally put a light around the chocolate and give it back to your mom. Hand it over to her. Like, give it to her like the ball of light of this chocolate, Cadbury chocolate, and you hand it to your mom and say, "Mom, thank you.
So
Thank you,
there,
but
here we have
it's
this.
yours."
I love this because now you're bringing in my next question about the active visualization as an important part of transforming our relationship with our
Right.
cravings and food. So you just gave an example of that. You want to share another one with something to tell people or actually give us more insight about how this active visualization or reworking the script, so to speak, would help?
Right. So we actually see ourselves going to reach. Here's with another big one for me. We actually see ourselves going to reach for something. It could be a second helping. It could be, you know, a, like how we eat. We could see our plate a certain size, and it's like totally full and packed to the brim. So we see ourselves eating in certain ways. I like to take things apart as patterns. Okay.
Yeah.
So everything that we're everything nourishing, right, that you're going to bring nourishment to, right, which is the healing of all of these things also. All of this stuff gets to be reapplied, reactivated, re-envisioned with ourselves. And so we get to take each item as it comes. It's not an all or nothing thing because that creates overwhelm in our system.
Yes.
It's one pattern at a time, and the others will shift automatically also. So take whatever pattern it is that what is a big pattern of yours that you don't, or what's maybe another food that you, okay, let's just say if you have a hamburger, you want French fries. Let's go there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I don't do that, but a lot of people would. Like they've been
a lot of
programmed
people
to.
do
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? That was my big thing. I can't have a hamburger without French fries. But then I started envisioning just me having a hamburger. But the thing is, I started looking at the whole French fry scenario also. Like what is that for me? Like what was that craving? And then I just went by French fries one day, when people were eating French fries, and I realized I didn't even want it anymore because I think I took a moment to just look at it. And then I took a moment to decide that maybe French fries weren't good for me. And I heard that voice again say, okay, yeah, we're done here. So now I started seeing myself at a table where there were French fries and people were eating French fries. And I didn't even want it. I didn't even want to touch, reach over. I didn't even see myself reach over to pick at somebody's plate, which is
Yeah.
another beautiful, that was another beautiful habit.
So that's, yeah. So you can actually take the charge out of the food so that there's no charge there for you. You
Yes.
become neutral
Actually,
with it.
you are actually taking the charge out of the food.
Yeah. So it's like this has no charge for me, and I also don't feel any desire for it. So I'm going to pass. That kind of thing. Yeah, these are great techniques that you're sharing, Isabel. And before we end today's episode, you have shared so much. I want you to remind our listeners about how they can get your free gift and about the app and your website. Anything else you want to share, including perhaps your other
So they
books
can
too.
So they can go under the App Store and go under Nourish. It's an app, and they can get a few weeks for free. And also, they could go under my website, Isabel, Isabel dash Chiara, CHIARA.com. And all my books are there. I have 3 books. And they can get a copy of the ebook. We're going to post it on your show notes.
That's right. So go into the show notes, click on, and get your free ebook. Isabel, it's been quite the informative journey about Nourish today with you. I am so pleased that you came on the episode and that you shared your wisdom with all my listeners. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode featuring my guest, Isabel Chiara. Remember to download, share, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending nourishing vibrations into the quantum field.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.